Not a great trip for the Orioles to Boston, right? It could have been better, could have been worse. But I think it's not necessarily the play on the field that is being talked about. It's kind of been the post-game questions that have been asked to the players, right? What's going on with the Orioles? How's morale? Cedric Mullins had a quote there the other day. Dean Kramer said something as well after last night's tough loss. And by the way, the Orioles would have a different tune. They had a chance to win the game. They lose a heartbreaking one in Boston in extra innings. And on top of it, the Yankees then win a toe-to-toe heavyweight bout with the Royals. So it was very, very brutal for O's fans last night. But, guys, I laugh because that Dean quote got a lot more traction than I anticipated.
I think more than Dean anticipated.
I think no doubt about it. But because the quote is, Dean was asked why the Orioles haven't been able to get on the same page. And he says, I wish that was my job to tell you, but that's not my job. My job is to go out there and pitch. That's a question for the higher-ups, the guys who make the decisions of who plays, who doesn't play, and all that stuff. So I wish I could tell you, but I got no answer for that. And that clearly got a little bit of fire because people took it 100 different ways. I laughed because I read it as how Dean would talk. So when I was what Dean was essentially how I took it was he was just trying to say, hey, I just got to focus on, being the best pitcher that I can be. I don't make those decisions, right? But then Cedric Mullins' quote the other day about morale, Zach, right? That was the quote about saying it's not.
He says it's not awesome, but it's, it's not horrible. He said they just have to focus on getting things back on track. He didn't say anything that no one, we kind of talked about this pre-show. With these quotes from the players right now, it's just a lose-lose scenario because when people, if Cedric comes out and says, oh, everything's great, things are going well, we'll get back on track.
People will be pissed.
People would be up in arms like, is he ignoring what's going on? Can he be real with himself? Like, what's he doing? Then he goes, it could be better, it could be worse, but we'll figure it out. And people are like, Cedric Mullins thinks the Orioles are done. Like it's just you cannot win with it. But also the reason why it's getting brought up is because the Orioles last 2 months have been a 500 team or slightly below 500. It's not just the Orioles. Again, I want to emphasize that. It's a lot of other teams, but with the Orioles now trying to have the race against the Yankees and you're trying to keep up with them, games like last night hurt. They hurt because of how it happened, and errors are going to happen. But the one thought I'd have for a team is if you're not feeling the best morale-wise, injuries, when you have so many, can bring morale down. But how you lose can bring it down. And defensively for Baltimore, it's been rough. And I've told you guys this before. If you're going to have some struggles pitching and hitting, defense kind of has to be your sounding piece, right? And it hasn't been for Baltimore. You go back and look, they were the 5th best defensive team in all of baseball last year. And last time I checked, they were 12th or 13th in baseball. And there was a lot of games we can go back and look at and go, well, man, that could have helped. Now, I understand with the error, Tyler O'Neill goes deep anyway. It's a 2-run shot. They win. But, again, maybe it's a different circumstance how you pitch Tyler O'Neill in that situation. I think they would have walked him.
And they probably would have walked him. I think that's a fair assessment.
Although people are assuming that they're going to walk him, it still is just weird to me. Like, I understand analytics. I get all that. As a baseball guy, even if Jackson gets that out, people are like, oh, then they just automatically walk Tyler O'Neill. I cannot I don't care what the analytics say. I can't wrap my head around putting the winning run on first base.
Well, then what's the organizational philosophy then?
Yeah.
Because their philosophy all year has been analytics. And so if the analytics are saying, well, O'Neill crushes lefties, go walk him. I mean, have they now shifted their philosophy away from analytics and they're just saying, go out there, play ball?
Mm-hmm.
And again, we talk about it. It's not just a Hyde thing, not just an Elias thing, not just a SIG thing. This is an organizational thing.
It's what they believe in.
It's
what they built this for.
But now my question is, what do they believe in? So it's an interesting angle to me.
It's an interesting angle, and I'm with you. I never like to put the run on, but Tyler O'Neill is outside of Devers and Duran. He's had a phenomenal year for Boston. That dude is slugging. If you guys remember the first time the Orioles played the Red Sox, Corbin Burns threw a pitch in there, and Tyler O'Neill It left the yard, left the monster. It went on the backside of Fenway Park. So there's a lot of different thoughts you can go with, Kev. And I think for Baltimore, what it comes down to is when you aren't playing clean baseball, then it puts you in a position that can be a little bit more tense or stressful. We don't know what the Orioles would have done, but we do understand that they've had things in the past situationally of not executing as well as they could. When they've won the games, the game that they won, game 2 of the series, what do you think they did well, guys, situationally? I talked about it last night on 105.7 The Fan, which I know you guys tuned into. Right?
Every time.
Obviously.
So I can recite it word for word.
To the window, to the wall, Kevin.
Yeah.
What would be a thing that I would say situationally with the Orioles offensively?
They didn't hit great with runners in scoring position, but with the bases loaded, Adley came through.
Oh, and how many outs were there?
2.
Oh, the Orioles in that 5-3 victory had 4 2-out RBIs. Cedric Mullins' home run, Adley Rutschman's 3-2 little, hey, change up and a pow the other way, right? Little things like that. 4 2-out RBIs for Baltimore, and they win the game. I'm not joking when I say that. Those little, you can say runners in scoring position. It comes down to executing with 2 strikes, and it also comes down to giving clean outings for you. What happened yesterday for Dean, one of Dean's runs scoring?
Errors.
So throwing error is an infield hit, right? It got deemed infield hit, but it was a throwing error.
It was deemed an error. It was deemed an error, I think, on the wrong person, but
right. But so error allowed the run to score.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, would have been out of the end.
So again, it goes back to this to me is people can complain at the later part. When we had Q in here breaking down football the other day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of going, oh, here's some fundamental moments of what could have been better. For Baltimore, everyone wants to look at Keegan Aiken giving it up, and yeah, that doesn't feel good. That's tough. But how about we don't make the errors? How about we play clean baseball and give your team a better chance to win? That's where I look at it for Baltimore. I think they're going to figure things out offensively. Adley had a pretty solid series, 4 for 14, hit in each game. But man, the thing that there's one thing that continues to hurt is defensively. The Orioles defensively have not been consistent. And that actually bothers me more because of all the things, that's what you can control more, is how you are defensive. You guys want to guess who was the top 2 defensive teams? And then that's my last point. Last year. Last year, and currently they were the number 1 team this year.
I'm going to say the Diamondbacks.
And who was number 2 last year?
Oh, it was the Diamondbacks. Was it the Rangers?
Boom.
Damn, I did not know the Rangers were doing defensively like that.
Damn. So, look, Brad, you've heard this. O's can get hot. Any team can get hot at the right time. It's all a moot point until we see what happens with the postseason. But
yeah, I mean,
we go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, we talked about this earlier, but I feel so bad for Dean because all he does is throw gems and can't get it up. Like,
yeah, when he's pitched
you look
really
at
well.
his stats on paper and, you start to look around at the wins and losses, and obviously wins and losses aren't everything, but I would love this. What was the stat that he had talked about? And then you and I talked about with John and Tyler Wells. John means, was it FIP?
FIP, yeah.
Yep, FIP.
Yeah. We'd be curious to see what Dean's FIP number is.
I think, did Dean say he doesn't have a great FIP or he's middle of the pack?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, I think Dean's somewhere in the middle here in general. But for Dino, it's a good point. Dino's actually quietly, I think we need to hit Dean in the arm more. I think we should do it. I texted him that this morning too. I said, Dean, let's get another 103 right off the arm. And he goes, please don't. Please no. And I go, okay, well, you just keep pitching well. But if you look at Dean's numbers so far, yeah, you guys might think that this is, the one game against the Rockies was 3 1/3, 4 earned runs. He's only had 1 outing since July 14th where he's given up more than 4 runs since July 14th. So he's had multiple games of giving up 1 or fewer. He's having a really solid second half here of the season. But again, defense does matter. One question we'll answer, and we'll move around Maryland here. Sam, you say, Rip, how does this relatively same O's team go from the best with runners in scoring position to middle of the pack, trending downward? How does the relatively same defense go so bad in just 1 year? I think part of that is Gunnar Henderson is playing shortstop for the first time for a full season. And I believe Gunnar is your long-term answer at shortstop, but I don't think he had enough reps there consistently to be comfortable on an every day. You got to remember, who was the shortstop playing a lot of games there last year? Gunnar did play, was Jorge Mateo.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, Gunnar did play more shortstop down the stretch, but it wasn't all on him and thrust upon him. The other expectations and pressures, plus you got a young second baseman in Jackson, plus you've had a lot of a merry-go-round now without having Jordan Westberg.
I think that's the biggest issue.
And that's you lost Mateo and you don't have Westberg. I think those are two pieces that are very, very important for your defensive pieces. Hitting-wise, there are certain things I'd like to see. There's just a different philosophy of the game nowadays. But to me, and the Orioles, that's why I compared it to Texas, and people go, Ryan, wait a minute. How could they be compared to Texas? Texas hit a ton of home runs last year. Texas, when you saw them in the playoffs, it looked like it didn't matter where it was pitched. Garcia was hitting a home run every damn time. And Corey Seager was unbelievable. Then you had, was it Garver last year in the playoffs?
Well, Garver hit the big one, but then
who
was the rookie? Who?
Wood it was a Wood? No.
Why am I? It's
Carter. Carter.
Evan Carter. I want to say Evan Turner, but
I was gonna say. I started thinking of Pirates of the Caribbean there of Miss Turner. Best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. I don't know why. Kevin, no, you haven't seen it. But to finish the point, the Orioles can get hot. So I think right now they're not executing because with 2 strikes, they're not putting the ball in play. And so whether it's saying concentration, plate discipline, philosophy, whatever it is, they're not doing it right. But they could be like Texas, and in the playoffs, things come together and they get a breath of fresh air and they do what the Rangers did offensively. So I think we leave it with that.